Welcome to episode 120 of the Hard Truth About B2B e-commerce. I'm your host, Isaiah Bollinger, and I'm back with Tim. Sometimes I struggle to say the full name because it's it's a mouthful, the hard truth
It's a
about
mouthful.
B2B.
Mouthful. I know. Sometimes I do too. I abbreviate it as the hard truth or whatever. But yeah, welcome everybody. It's great to be back here. There are a couple people I did have for shout outs this week. I'm always happy to hear from listeners, and I just wanted to make sure that I recognize a couple of them today. So Brian Garrett, who is an avid listener, Matt Christie, John Matthews, and a few older friends who have continued to listen. I want to mention Betsy Emery Martin again. I want to mention Robert Sussman. They've been listening all along, which is amazing to me. I just love that because 120 episodes is a lot of episodes listening to us. So
Yeah.
thank you.
These aren't 10-minute podcasts. You get some of the little ones. This is, we're mostly almost like a full hour usually. So
we're a really long podcast for that many episodes. You're right. I was on another podcast a while ago that I think I was like episode 450, but they're 10-minute podcasts, right? So it's a completely different world. And
there's not a lot of podcasts that are long with a lot of episodes. The ones that are usually pretty big, like I've been listening to a lot of the All In podcasts. They got money and they're pretty invested, so I think they're a little ahead of us. Those guys are like basically billion. Chamath. You know I'm talking about the All In. Yeah, those are.
Yeah. So let me just pause for a moment so we can insert our sponsor mentions, and then I'm going to throw it back to Isaiah, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from our guest, Diego Terra from Hairball. So let me pause for one moment. Balance is a B2B e-commerce payment solution that works well for you and for your buyers. It offers a seamless one-click checkout for almost any payment method, including ACH, wire, checks, cards, even terms. It's used by leaders in B2B e-commerce, and it's as easy as buying a shirt from Amazon. Check them out at getbalance.com. Book a session and tell them what your needs are. They are the first dedicated payment platform for B2B e-commerce, 100% tailored to your needs. Thanks again to our sponsor, Balance. Hope that was enough for our sponsor mentions to be inserted. And if anyone's listening who wants to sponsor us, give us a call. Why not, right? We're always happy to add to the mix and to do other things. So, hey, Isaiah, who do we have?
Yeah, thanks for passing it back. I'm very excited to bring on Diego Terra, who goes, way back in B2B e-commerce from, early days of working on NetSuite and I guess even pre-NetSuite, right? Related e-commerce projects. So you're now the founder of Hairball, which is, I guess, more of an integration focused company. But tell us like how you got to this point, because obviously this is like the second or third iteration of what you're doing.
Sure. So, well, thank you for having me. It's an honor as a subscriber of the podcast to be part of the podcast. So thank you for that. Yeah, super excited to share and we can add to the community. So my journey, it's around, I was working for a company that built software, and the business was using NetSuite. So I started in my early 20s configuring NetSuite and staying late at night. I'm not a developer, right? I'm more in the business side. So I always was interested in the business process more than the code. So configuring NetSuite was what I liked. And this company used to sell product in the US. And so that's the first time I implemented an order to cash process. Then US company Inkjet Superstore, that they bought NetSuite, and they hired me to join and build the entire. Basically, I was like the guy doing operations, marketing, and all that back then. So everything in NetSuite. The site was in NetSuite, so that's the first time NetSuite released Site Builder, that was the first offering of an e-commerce platform built into the ERP. So that was magic because there was no integration, and it was like a self-serving portal for customers, like literally, right? So by that time, the competition was maybe Yahoo stores or Instant Store and all these that you had to
Before
integrate.
Magento, or there wasn't even Magento yet?
No,
Or...
not even Magento.
Yeah.
Magento started. I even bought a domain there called like Gento Solutions before when Magento started to appear. Then Magento, I mean, hit the market. But Site Builder was the platform. I really enjoyed it. As a non-developer, it was very easy to maintain, you know, and and it was integrated. So it was there's a lot of things you can only do in an integrated system, but it has its costs because there's a lot of things. If you're not decoupled, you cannot do. So it was always the fight of Netsuite. Like, it's amazing that it's integrated, but it limits you a lot. So so then I started, and then I built I started learning Site Builder, this platform, and I started my own company called SuiteCommerce. So everything in NetSuite was net something, and I started, okay, why not Suite something? So I started SuiteCommerce, and it was 2006, 2007 maybe, and so it was an agency that we targeted the NetSuite market. Site Builder was a growing platform, and we did like front-end design, but we did apps, like we did reviews, we did wish list, we did multi-add to cart, all back in store notifications, loyalty, everything in the NetSuite environment. So NetSuite keeps growing, and Site Builder was great but limited, right? So they said, okay, why don't we build a new platform? Okay, let's call it SuiteCommerce, and let's make it super flexible, integrated but super flexible. Okay, but how can we do this? Okay, let's buy these guys, our top e-commerce partner. So in 2011, NetSuite acquires SuiteCommerce. That's the name of the e-commerce offering. So my team in Uruguay, that's where we operated, become part of NetSuite, right? We get all this investment and new fancy office and everything, and we start building from scratch a new offering for e-commerce. It was like a dream, right? So we built a product team, we built a services team. NetSuite made other acquisitions, a CMS platform, a search company. So we bundled all together, the team in Barcelona and Uruguay, and we started building the SuiteCommerce product. It was pretty successful, but always with B2B in mind. But so SuiteCommerce becomes like the product of NetSuite, but it becomes like a super open product where you could build whatever you wanted. But that made it very difficult to maintain it or to customize it, you know. So then I spent basically 9 years, and in the middle the Oracle acquisition came in, and that was great, and that I thought I was gonna stay I don't know, 4 or 5 years, but then when Oracle came in, it was a huge opportunity to be exposed and learn more. And it's amazing. Like, I love the NetSuite team, great people, and when Oracle joined too, again, I learned everything about go-to-market and packaging offerings, and how to not only build the product but also how to deliver the product, right? And under this methodology called Suite Success, that it's changed my vision and everything on how to deliver services. So I stayed, and Uruguay, by then the Uruguay office was like 280 people, and building the products, services, and it was huge. We were 30, and I think right now it's 350 people. So
and
insane.
how many places did that office cover? Like Central and South America, or like that's a lot of
the world. The world, yeah, yeah. No,
Wow,
we were building the product for the world, and we were the services for e-commerce.
amazing.
Yeah, we're all in Uruguay. So there's a nice and big community of NetSuite
Mhm.
consultants in Uruguay. Um, so yeah, that's great because we have a good positioning on, like right now, Hairball, we operate from mainly from Uruguay. That's where I'm right now.
Mhm.
And there is that relationship of Uruguay NetSuite just because of that acquisition. So
You know, I hope we get a lot of listeners from your area because, you know, after we had a guest from Dubai, we got listeners in Dubai who still listen. After we got a guest in Indonesia, we got folks who started to listen from Indonesia. So I really hope, you know, hi everybody. I hope you all joined the podcast.
yeah,
And so what made
we're
you leave NetSuite to start Hairball?
yeah. So what I loved at SuiteCommerce, I mean, it was an amazing journey, NetSuite, and but one day I said I missed talking to customers, I missed building stuff, I missed running my own Slack account, my own Gmail account. Like I wanted to go back to own, and my kids also were growing, and I didn't want them to see me as corporate. No, I was a guy that loved to build stuff and have great weeks and have bad weeks, but always building and creating and then like what I loved about having my own business was that you don't know what's gonna come next week. Like maybe a new opportunity, maybe a new deal, maybe a new offering. I don't know. And it's good and bad, but I love that. And in the Oracle world, it's amazing, but you know exactly what's gonna. I mean, you have quarterly targets or yearly targets, and you know exactly what's gonna happen in December. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
You're not going
So
to go out of business. You're not.
and so yeah, I think again, I was super grateful for the acquisition, for the time I spent there. It was like I always what I didn't like about having a small agency, that I was always going to be this guy that knows only this. Being exposed to NetSuite and amazing people and Oracle was like an MBA, live MBA experience, exposure, and everything. So I also wanted to bring back all that experience to my business. Um, so yeah, so I started Hairball. So what I really liked about e-commerce, it wasn't only I like growth and marketing and the front end and the speed and the conversion rate, but what I really liked was everything that happened after the order. So I let other companies build stuff so customers can get a lot of orders, but what I want to focus is what happens after the order gets placed. So it's unsexy, but it's the unsexy stuff that brings the sexy outcomes, right? If you can really nail an order to cash process, an inventory management, and accurate financials, it has a huge impact on the bottom line of a business. So and nobody wants to focus there. Um, so why not?
I want to put that on a t-shirt or have that for social media. It's the unsexy stuff that brings the sexy results or whatever, something like that. I like that. That's perfect. That's really true.
Yeah, and so when we were partners with NetSuite, Celigo was also a growing partner. Jan Arentz, it's the CEO, and I know Jan back in the day, and I was talking to him on one Suite World or some phone call, and I said, okay, like I mean, you're growing, and I like the automation stuff, the integration stuff, and why not? So I started learning Celigo. Celigo is the top NetSuite integration partner, right, by far. So
Yeah.
and Jan comes from Celigo, so the first line of code of Celigo, it's based on a NetSuite saved search. So it's like being in the similar ecosystem.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I started like with 2 years and a half ago, one customer, one Shopify integration for $2,000, um, and now I mean We have more than, I don't know, 300 customers and a big team now. We're 20 in Uruguay, and yeah, we're learning, and applying this Suite Success methodology where we pre-package. I'm only looking for niches and stuff that I can deliver many times in the same. I don't like someone like a blank state project where I want to do this. I don't like those types of services. I like to build stuff that I can build 100 times.
So do you have clients who are small and medium size or enterprise? Because NetSuite has a sort of a reputation actually for being for slightly bigger businesses to very big businesses. So what type of clients do you have?
It's all over the place. The customer I like, it's the medium SMB market. I'm not. I don't like, and I'm not prepared for the big guys. It's another way of delivering. It's another way of it. I don't think it's profitable for my mindset, right? I'm not saying it's not for what I like to do. It doesn't make sense for me. And NetSuite had a journey of being the small business, then being the medium-sized business at the target market, and they had a huge growth there. Then they went up market, and when Oracle bought them, they went back to mid-market. But it's anyone that outgrows QuickBooks goes to NetSuite, okay? But the problem is, how can NetSuite get them before they make the decision of QuickBooks?
That's an interesting thought. I don't think it would even occur to anyone to do that, actually. So that's a lot of work that's going to have to be done. It would never occur to the clients I work with to skip QuickBooks, and go right to NetSuite.
Stay tuned.
Aha.
I'm kidding. No. So NetSuite has a financial only offering that could act as the QuickBooks replacement, but it's not. It's difficult because if you don't market to the guy that's starting the business, right, you won't get them. So how do you get them before they make the decision of QuickBooks? That's the main challenge. And it's not something maybe they're doing, but it's like, okay, they definitely graduate from QuickBooks to NetSuite, but then what happens? So anyone that outgrows QuickBooks go to NetSuite. That's our target market. Like any growing D2C company.
Are you guys typically implementing NetSuite or more focused on the integration, or it's just a mix of both?
No, we're more focused on the integration, but yeah, we are doing NetSuite implementations, but only for AFA, health and beauty, food and bev, so strictly product companies that sell more than 80% of their business online, their own store or marketplaces.
80%, you said 80% online. Okay.
Yeah, you could have B2B and or I don't know, maybe some sales reps selling here and there, but I mean your business processes are focused on a marketplace or on a shopping cart.
Digital, yeah. And so, what are the typical platforms you're seeing these people use? Is it Shopify? Is it BigCommerce, Magento?
No, it's Shopify, then BigCommerce, then Magento. A lot of people are getting Magento.
And how much of this is B2B, or how many of these companies are running a B2B aspect, would you say? Or are you seeing more of that, or more willingness to do that online?
More and more. We released a packaged offering so the way we when we talked about these companies, it was like, okay, let's do B2C in BigCommerce or Shopify, and let's do B2B with SuiteCommerce, right? But now what's happening is, after the acquisition of Bundle B2B from BigCommerce and the big push of BigCommerce to B2B, and now the sudden, like Shopify is releasing almost every month new APIs for B2B, and so I think it's eating everywhere. So whoever's in B2C Shopify, it's thinking about how to add the B2B layer. So we released a couple of B2B flows in GraphQL, and we're seeing a lot of traction there for
For
Shopify.
for Shopify or for Sligo or what? How does it work? Or
No, for Shopify on top of Seligo. So
gotcha. Yeah.
Seligo will offer you what they call an IA that integrates Shopify and NetSuite B2C, but it's not planned for B2B, and it's on the REST API, not GraphQL. So we built on top of that a packaged offering for B2B flows that take care of companies, locations, contacts, catalogs, price list, and volume pricing. So
Gotcha. Yeah. Basically those additional B2B use cases. And so you're seeing people now that are like, okay, we're using Shopify B2C. All right, let's bring, we do wholesale or we do company, like let's bring our company accounts on, and they're starting to implement the Shopify company accounts.
exactly. But the great thing is that they already had a B2B business, and because NetSuite handles B2B businesses pretty well, they were operating in NetSuite. Okay, so the structure. So it's not a matter of starting B2B. It's a matter of exposing what you've been operating with in NetSuite to Shopify, right?
Sure,
So
for sure.
they already have the company contacts and sub customers or locations. They already have price lists. They already have terms. They already have personalized catalogs for each of these companies. But what you need to get is someone that understands both systems to make that exposure of information that you're already operating with to Shopify.
Yeah,
That's
and
the key.
so once they do that, do you also find, and we find that, is there still an adoption issue getting the companies to actually use Shopify, or is there some resistance there from the sales reps? Or are these companies just more forward thinking? I think it depends on the company, right?
Yeah, I mean, what the decision maker, I mean, the guy that we talk, our persona, tells us is that it's amazing that now they can expose what they had buried in NetSuite to the customer, and they can buy. Sales reps being against the website was always a problem, but I mean, Shopify doesn't have the sales rep value, but if that order comes against that company and in NetSuite it has the sales rep, you can credit commissions for that company in NetSuite automatically. So that, I mean, takes care of that, and you can assign different commissions if the order is based from a website channel or an offline channel. So you can get around that. But again, we are not in talks with the sales reps or what happens after they go live and how they internally what happens.
But are you in contact? You're in contact with them in the earlier phases of the project, though, as stakeholders, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
So what are some of the roadblocks or things that you encounter with that, in general?
With the B2B in Shopify or B2B in general?
Just in general. Yeah, it could be Shopify, it could be in general. Yeah.
I mean, inventory allocation, it's a huge part because in D2C, it's whatever. You have 1,000 units, they go selling and you go to stock. In B2B, you may have to do some allocation where you want to reserve inventory for one specific customer. That's super complex to resolve. Price levels per customer and per item, it's not that easy, and because in D2C, basically it's the same price for everyone and discounts. So it's the variability of the price comes on the promotion. Here it's the negotiated price at the SKU level. It's not just the price level for a customer. It's the price level for the customer, price for that item for that week.
Yeah, it's a price list. It's not just like a customer group or tiered pricing. Yeah. Do you find challenges with integrating that at scale, or if they have 1,000 price lists, it gets kind of messy or heavy or becomes a lot of data? And, I could see that being kind of like a data issue or scale issue.
Maybe the maintenance,
Yeah.
if you made the maintenance becomes a little bit, but no, then you have the limitations. I don't know how many catalogs you can have on Shopify, but no, it's and then another one ratio that you have to measure. It's like, okay, although I launched my ordering portal, how many people are still buying there or just navigating but then placing the order offline because they want to cut another deal? Like, hey, I saw that you have, I don't know, the hats at I don't know, if I buy 30, the price is $14.99, but give me $2 off. What do you do? Like, you change the price in NetSuite, you push it to integration and they buy online, or you just take the order on phone?
So there's still a lot of negotiation, right? And to that point,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's where, request a quote could come into play, right? Where they could, and I think BigCommerce has this with B2B Edition. I think Shopify is probably building it, which is like you add to your cart as a quote, you request it all as a quote, they'd come back, that would go to NetSuite, they'd come back and say, okay, we'll give you a slightly better price, then they'd push it back to Shopify or BigCommerce or Magento, and then they'd process it online. But
I heard quotes are coming, but what some customers were using is the Shopify draft order.
yeah,
Pushing that as a quote to NetSuite, and
it's just kind of like a hack method. It's not really the, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Isaiah knows this well, but for a long time, I've been advocating for things like tiered pricing across the board, and I actually saw a lot of headway in that, for B2B. But, I feel like so many companies want it to be more complicated than is necessary, and they don't realize that their clients and their customers, if they have no other option, they will just again, do something according to the tier, and that the tiers can actually be more profitable. So how do you view tiered pricing in general, or how your clients approach it?
So you mean tier pricing by the quantities they buy, or by
Well, it could be, it's rule-based. Basically, it's rule-based so that it's fair, so that there's not an individual client negotiating a price for themselves. It's just rule-based, so it's either quantities plus warehouse location, or quantities plus warehouse location
Or
plus some other factor.
annual volume, annual
Yeah.
sales volume sometimes.
Yeah.
No, so the typical ones are quantity plus volume. Like if you're in this tier 1, 2, 3, 4, and you buy more than whatever, that's
Yeah.
the base. And then you have negotiated rates. Like, okay, I negotiated that for this year, if I buy X amount of this, I'm gonna get it at this rate. No, I mean, from a systems perspective, it's there and it's working, and these platforms can handle it. So, but yeah, it's the biggest. Like right now, we implemented a project where it was NetSuite to Magento, and the guys, the architecture they choose to create the price levels in NetSuite wasn't the correct one. They created a price level per product category per customer, so it was a mess. So they had to rebuild the entire setup of price levels so it could make sense with that platform. But there's a lot of confusion around tier pricing for sure, and some customers will ask like ridiculous things that don't make sense. Like with 2-3 dimensions, you should be more than fine. Like don't make your business that complex, Like,
Well, I think that what we've probably been advocating for, which makes a lot of sense to us, is like, okay, anyone spending less than, I don't know, 20 grand a year, they're in the tiered pricing, volume pricing. Like you don't get negotiated pricing, whatever. I'm making that number up. It could be 100,000.
Yeah, whatever the business is, but you wouldn't qualify for negotiated pricing because you're just not.
I mean, I can understand why you want to negotiate $1 million deal, right? Like it's $1 million deal. It's going to change the business, and it's keeps people's jobs. If someone's buying $5,000 a year, the time to negotiate pricing, the cost of managing that and having a price list for them is probably not worth it versus just going to some sort of volume price tiered pricing model. And so I think companies should adopt something like that, for a certain level of their customers, and then probably only allow negotiated pricing for much larger customers. That's how I would do it.
Right.
But I think because the culture has been created where it's a free reign with sales reps, they don't want to turn that off, or you know what I mean? They're scared to kind of turn that off, you know.
But those big deals, I mean, I think like the first orders should be, we have a customer that's in the apparel business, right? That they have a customer, I don't know, maybe anthropology, right? That they have, I don't know, 100 locations, and once the deal is set up, then they give them access to Shopify just for self-service, and the location of Third Street Promenade can go and buy the 20 dresses they need for that week or whatever, right? But the deal it's built already in the higher level, and then they expose all the buyers into this self-serving platform.
Yeah.
So the big deal doesn't happen on the portal. It's, you know.
For sure. And that's why I think that it kind of makes sense to potentially have negotiated pricing with that. But then you only have to manage these price lists for a small subset of large customers, and you don't have, you know, 100,000 price lists. Maybe you only have 500 price lists of your biggest customers, and then everyone else gets volume pricing or tiered pricing. And then you could also just do promo codes or online discounts, right? You could just have a sales rep say, here's, all right, you really want this discount, we're just going to give you this one-off promo code. We don't have to create a whole price list just for this one little discount, you know?
Yeah. And then, I mean, the personalized catalogs that I worked a lot on that feature while at NetSuite, that it's also amazing. Like when the customer logs in and they can see their own product or their own set of products, that's super important for B2B, especially when you want to give exclusivity for one specific SKU, or you want to launch it first for your top customers. That's
How much are you doing that? Is that something you're more doing in Magento, or you're starting to do that in Shopify and BigCommerce, or
yeah, so now with catalogs, you can do it in Shopify. What we've been doing it more and more is in Shopify. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. They might have like a private label product, a specialty product for a certain customer, and you know, and I think that kind of stuff makes sense, right? And that maybe goes back to those are the kind of customers you offer the negotiated pricing to, but for
and a lot of customers, like, they build for specific brands, so they assign just that catalog to that brand so they can buy whatever they want.
So it's almost like they don't really have a one-off catalog. They have like brand specific catalogs, basically.
Yeah, we have a ring company that they build specifically for a brand, and they expose only those items to that brand. That's it.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that you're seeing more and more of this in Shopify, because, like, you know, 3 years ago, I feel like no one would be really thinking about this in Shopify, you know.
Well, but when they bought Handshake, I mean, the way I see the landscape was like, while I was at NetSuite, it was like, okay, use Shopify for B2C, but use SuiteCommerce for B2B. There you have a perfect stack, because SuiteCommerce can do many B2B things that no one else can do, and it's integrated, right? You don't want to be... When Shopify buys Handshake, we got a little bit, you know, something's gonna come. Okay, and it's coming. I mean, it's very evident where Shopify is heading, and the investment they're doing, and they're doing it correctly, like really
Well, I think
really
the
well.
first launch of wholesale channel didn't really work, though. So they kind of failed initially. And then what the company accounts, it only came out last year or the year before? So the new No, I'm talking about the new company accounts in Shopify.
Only about a year
ago. Last year. Yep.
Yeah. So it seems like the new functionality of B2B Shopify really has only been around for a year plus. And yeah.
Yeah, and it's but now they're adding more and more. So I know, and it's very well thought of. I mean, because if you look at the acquisition of BigCommerce and then integrating that into, you know, it's not that easy.
Yeah. Well, I think BigCommerce is gonna have to, they're gonna have to completely, you know, embed it in where it's fully part of BigCommerce, but it's gonna take them a while to kind of get that all complete, you know. But your point,
Exactly.
this new version of Shopify B2B, it's all built perfectly into Shopify. I think, you know, once they get request to quote, more sales rep features, like they're gonna get there. Like you said, it's just, is it, you know, every month, in a year from now, if we had this conversation, we'll probably have way more even in-depth things to talk about Shopify, you know?
Yeah. No, but they started, like, if you can get the customer contact location structure right from day one, forget it. Like you're gonna lose in many B2B scenarios. They got that right from day one. People think B2B it's just quantity pricing and maybe a
So
specific
when you say
catalog,
that,
but
you mean like company accounts and sub accounts within the companies? Is that, you know,
Yep.
like,
Yep.
yeah, that's how companies are organized. And one a great thing that they build is like the customer relationship to the location only or to the company only. That happens all the time, and it's necessary to have that relationship. That enables that relationship and also limits that relationship, because if you don't have that, and what we're seeing is any ERP, right, or it's built with that same structure, so it was a no-brainer to like get it correctly so people can integrate. Like it's they didn't say, okay, let's do it our way, and we think
yeah, and you're talking
B2B
about like the ship
counts what they can.
tos, so they could have a ship to the company or ship to the customer addresses, or, you
Yeah,
know, like, because to your point, with a company, they might have 20 locations where they're shipping items out to, right?
exactly. And then it's the structure basically, it's the company, the locations, and the customer, the buyer. Basically, it's the customer that buys in Shopify, it's the buyer. The buyer can buy for all the locations, or a buyer can only buy for one specific location. Okay, so that's amazing. And then you want to see all the orders of the company or only the orders of the location. Okay, that structure, and I don't want to get boring, but that structure, it's amazing, because that's how ERPs work. Because maybe a
Yeah.
location is with an independent buyer, but the invoicing goes at the company level of I don't know, the monthly invoices get assigned to at the company level, not at the location level. So
Yeah.
and all that handled already by the ERP. So I don't know. It's maybe I'm
What do
too
you think is
easy.
going to be the future? I mean, I think where Shopify is going to have to figure out is B2B payments. Like, they're very credit card focused with Shop Pay. I think they're going to have to kind of figure out like Shop Pay, ACH. What are you seeing around kind of like purchase order, or kind of like most B2B companies don't want to be taking only credit card, obviously.
So there you have okay, so terms, that's easy, because then you in the ERP you can charge for it. And then you have two options, or ACH. The thing is, not too many companies pay upfront. So in the end, what you want to have is ACH in the ERP. Okay? Or if the ERP doesn't take ACH, send them a payment link generated from Shopify that they could pay ACH on the Shopify platform. But like, you can't take a $13,000 order on the Shopify checkout with ACH. The ACH payment happens generally as a payment link when the order is invoiced. Okay?
Yeah, I understand. But you would,
Okay.
okay, you know, usually these are net 30, net 60, whatever, even net 90. You would think that if Shopify, they would want to be controlling that payments eventually, right? Like,
But they don't own the invoice.
yeah, well, maybe they'll have to figure out
Yeah.
how
We'll
to,
see.
or how to integrate, right? If it's integrated and the invoices pulled into Shopify, and then, yeah, it's definitely a challenge. I agree. Like, the ERP kind of controls the billing of that theoretically, but, you know, they're also not necessarily the best payment systems either, you know? So,
No, but I mean, again, a NetSuite customer could definitely use NetSuite's ACH payment link, that it's a link in the invoice. Now, what we build, sometimes it's a flow from NetSuite to Shopify to say, hey, this order has been paid.
yeah. So they can see what's been paid or what's open.
Yeah.
That's, I think, a
Yes.
lot of it is people want to see what they owe, what they don't owe. Obviously, also, you need to be able to turn off credit. What if someone doesn't pay? right? And they're past due on 60 days, you don't want them to keep ordering on the website. You know what I
No.
mean? So you'd have to have some automatic, functionality to turn them off or.
Yeah. And I think I mean, there's a lot of detail there, but the ERP can handle it. But I think Shopify should be focused on an order taking platform.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
If they want to do all the other stuff, I mean,
But here's where it gets interesting though, because their business model is heavily around payments, right? And so they're going to have to figure out, okay, are we going to make enough money as an order taking platform in this world, or do we figure out how to make some money on the ACH because I mean, most of Shopify's revenue is payments.
don't
Yep.
get me wrong. Maybe if they will have the data if a lot of these B2B orders are prepaid and not terms, and maybe 80% of the orders in B2B are prepaid, and ACH in the platform makes a lot of sense. I'm just guessing that many B2B orders are net terms. I don't know. But they
are. No. I think you're right. I think many are. But it's just interesting, right? Because right now, Shopify is winning payments. Honestly, they're doing really well with payments. Their revenue is skyrocketing. Obviously, not everyone, but a lot of people are going to Shopify, both B2B and B2C. But the revenue they generate from that is mostly on payments. I mean, Tim, I don't know, I think it's like 70% of the revenue is payments.
It's a ridiculous percent. I mean, it really is much higher than I had expected to be, and I think you're about right. It's probably around 70. It's huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge.
So it'll be interesting if they're trying to build all this B2B functionality, but there's no payments happening, that it's like, okay, we're only capturing 30% of this growth. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be interesting.
I see it as a feature, not as but the wholesale channel didn't have commissions. Okay. The B2B channel will have commissions, and commissions in B2B with margins are so thin. I don't think people will. It's going to hurt the B2B business there, because you're processing a 20,000 PO and with paying Shopify a margin for an order taking platform.
I agree. So that's why I think you're going to see this interesting battle. I think mainly I think it's going to come down to between Shopify and BigCommerce, and I think BigCommerce. Their advantage is right now, at least the way they're structured, not saying it's good, they're not really reliant on the payment gateway fees, and so that gives them, I think, a B2B advantage to not have to take that on,
So let me just ask a couple different things, different angles here. So, everyone talks about AI, including all of these companies we're mentioning. Oracle has talked about how they're integrating AI into all of their, products and divisions, and, Shopify and all these folks. So where does AI play into this for B2B for the customer, versus how is their experience going to change, do you think, based on what you're hearing or what you're seeing in the next year or 2 years? I'm not thinking about like 10 years in the future, because who knows, right? But the next year or 2 years, how do you see AI affecting anything that they're up to right now?
AI, it really changed our company, Hairball, but on the e-commerce side, I mean, I've seen the descriptions, some prediction, some maybe I haven't put too much thought on I don't know. I mean, the impact, again, I've been seeing it's how we run the business, but not exactly on like, I haven't had a chat about AI with any of the customers.
Interesting. What about from the companies themselves, though?
That's why we're on 60. So it's transactional, right? I don't see. I mean, maybe not AI, but more on the predictive model. If you can, I mean, the biggest challenge is when to buy, how to buy, and for whom to buy stock.
Well, where I'm seeing AI playing in for the companies I'm talking with, it's really about product data, for example, figuring out where all the gaps are, and creating images where there weren't any, creating schematics where there weren't any, creating product descriptions where there weren't any, making sure there's 100% coverage, dynamic pricing models, dynamic, dynamic commissioning, actually, commissioning for sales teams that is algorithm based, so that they're getting incentivized based on the profits that are flowing at any minute of any day. So I'm seeing that, and hearing this from a lot of different people. I was just wondering,
I
if
think
you're seeing any
my
of that.
perspective has changed a little bit. I'm kind of coming to the conclusion that I think for most companies, and obviously like the very large companies can invest into AI and have these big sophisticated data science teams and do all sorts of crazy stuff. But I think for smaller companies like us and Hairball's customers and Trellis's customers, I think the AI is going to mostly end up being wrapped into the existing SaaS platforms.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see like, I'm already looking at Apollo for outbound. I think HubSpot. I mean, Celigo's has more AI error reporting. And so I think it's going to be more about how can we leverage the AI features within the individual platforms that are now adding all these AI features. And I don't think we've quite like figured that out yet. And we haven't seen how far it's like, it's going to lag a little behind like OpenAI. You see what I'm saying? Like they'll probably be like 6 months behind OpenAI, but eventually within those platforms, it'll be really powerful. Like I could imagine a PIM solution. I guess if I was Soulsify right now, I'd be building a feature where type in my name, augment, click, make this better, and it'll just magically populate all the data for a SKU or something like that. I'm kind of making
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And people are trying to do that right now. I mean, that's sort of what I'm aware of. So, I'm just, I was just
my
curious.
point is, I think that it'll be more within these individual SaaS platforms for specific use cases versus like OpenAI is this like magical engine that I think most companies just don't know how to use because it's so open-ended, for no pun intended, it's so open-ended, and they're just trying to figure out how to do Shopify better. I'm curious how Diego, from your experience of seeing what Sligo's doing with AI, and do you see some of that coming within these platforms?
I mean, yeah, it's embedded everywhere now. But again, the use cases of text are notable everywhere. It's easy, like get this description, run it, and give me something better. Then summarizing data, I mean, that's great. But I mean, what I've seen in talks in NetSuite or what I don't know wakes me up every day, it's how to use AI to predict inventory, to maybe sales, but I haven't seen many live use cases operating at that level. So text based, it's fine, but it's the product description, it's the
Content, basic stuff.
Okay.
It's
so
fine.
do you envision a world like, is it 2 years, is it 3 years, is it 5 years, where I can log in, or Hairball will set me up with Sligo or whatever in Shopify, I have this like integrated dashboard or NetSuite where just like, hey, we're forecasting, you need this much inventory here. Like it's basically just like telling you what to do almost kind of thing from a.
Yeah, definitely. But again, it's not AI. It was predictive modeling. It's being worked on years ago, and you can pull it now in the AI word, whatever. It's. I mean, people are working there, but it's very difficult to have exact inventory counts, across your 3PL, your ERP, your front end, your system, and.
Well, what I think is going to be interesting is it's going to force companies to have better data. Like one thing we're learning is like our we have never really been that sophisticated in CRM and HubSpot. Like we've mostly gotten inbound leads, people know us, right, or whatever. But we're getting better at sales. We're trying to get better at sales and marketing, and we're realizing like one of the things we have to do to get better at it is our data, just our basic data in HubSpot needs to get better. And like if we tried to do all these like sophisticated things, it wouldn't work because the data itself isn't good.
I'm a data freak. Like my CRM, my HubSpot, it's perfect.
I love
Can I get you over to Trellis to
oh my god, that's great
and
that's the secret sauce. That's the secret sauce. No, but like one tool, you know, those SaaS tools, and I don't know if it's free advertising, but we use at Hairball that it's insane. You know those tools that you buy and provides amazing value from minute one? It was read.ai.
Read that.
And I think it's like having 5 more people in the team. It's insane. Like, and I don't usually praise whatever, but these are apps that change your business. Like, and that's a great use of AI in the context of text and voice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give summaries, automate summaries. You don't have to be on every meeting.
Action items, what you pre-meeting, like 2 hours before the meeting, they'll say, okay, this is what you talked about, what you said you were gonna do. It's like my mother. I'm like, shut up.
All right, we got to have Read AI sponsor the podcast, or we got to get.
Yeah, I mean, we don't get enough credit for all the things that we promote.
I know.
We should at least get Netsuite deserves. How much business are we about to send to Netsuite from this?
I know we're giving them a whole hour here talking about how great they are.
We go Netsuite. I think they owe us some money, right?
Oh my gosh.
So what would you advise, if you're, let's say 5, 10, 20 million, 50 million, maybe up to 100 million plus SMB merchant? It sounds like that's kind of where you play, right? You're not focused on $1 billion. Where, like, what advice, I know it's hard, it's always specific, right? But if you were to give some general advice or to listeners, like, hey, get started on this, have these conversations, go talk to these people, like, what would you advise them to start thinking about especially if they're not serious about B2B commerce yet, or maybe they're not doing much?
So about B2B, I mean, definitely test the channel. Don't be afraid. I mean, it doesn't make sense for all your B2B customers, but it makes a lot of sense for so it doesn't have to be an all or nothing. I mean, I'm a big fan of self-service portals and having customers or stakeholders interact with your system. You don't need always someone in the middle talking to someone. Like, people can talk to them. So just enable that ordering portal that will make a lot of sense for many of your customers.
And what percentage do you think is like a healthy? I know it's not perfect, but from what you've seen, is it like, hey, at least 20% of your B2B orders should be online, or 50%, or what have you seen as kind of like, okay, these companies are doing really well, there's a coincidence they're also doing most of their orders online, B2B,
But it's a numbers game. It's like the cost of serving that customer on the phone or on email or on message. It's too much. So you need to automate those interactions. Like, they don't make sense. It's like when we talk about Netsuite pricing, right? It's like, it's not the price, the cost, and it's the amount of people you think that you hire, that you have on staff right now doing things that you can really automate and have visibility. So the more you can expose of that system, your system of record, to your stakeholders, that's when you will start saving a lot of money. So B2B, it's an easy area of the business to expose to your customers so they can check the price, check the catalog, check what's new, check if it's in stock or not, buy it, and there you will be winning a lot of efficiencies.
But you just said something important. I think, like, it's more expensive in general to take a call, order, not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There'll be a point where the companies that aren't doing this are going to just be not competitive. Like, if your competition is automating all these orders with B2B commerce and you're not doing it, you're going to have less margin, have to charge higher prices. I mean, are we going to see that play out? Are we going to see that,
Depending on a human nowadays, it's super expensive. Not only the cost, but they're going to leave. You're going to train someone. You're going to reassign those accounts. So just start training your customer on operating with your system. Instead of training a new employee how to use your system to talk to customers. You have the technology, right?
Yeah.
So invest in that customer on how to use your system.
Yeah, it will pay off. And besides, we talked about this at length in other podcasts. I think it's I think what's in every company's favor at this point is that their customers are getting more used to doing things the way that they want them to do things, right? They're placing orders online everywhere already, right? And if you are one of the holdouts that hasn't made it easy to place orders online, your customers are going to demand it or they'll walk away, right? So it's kind of like it's no longer 7, 10, however many years ago when maybe the customers were not comfortable or weren't used to doing it online. Now everybody is, everybody does everything online. So there's no excuse, there's no reason not to do it anymore.
No, and B2B systems now, they offer the same experience as B2C. That's you see it everywhere. And
Yeah,
I mean,
and better and better. That's the thing.
I have another business. It's called Unlock Commerce. That it sold NetSuite solutions for e-commerce companies that run in NetSuite, right, 100%.
Mhm.
And we have like the CRM of the future is to have the data correctly in the system, but instead of having your people know your customer because of the information, is exposing everything of that system to your customer so they can operate their data, see their,
Sure.
In a self-service environment. So we built a self-service portal product that you can expose any object and whatever. So I'm a big believer that the CRM of the future is the one that allows customers to have visibility into my HubSpot, see their account, see what's going on, see the open deals, see the open tickets, interact there. Not they ask me, I go to a HubSpot and I tell them, oh, okay, I see that you have. No, they should be able to see everything. Why not?
I think that making a really important point. It actually is kind of what I was talking about on our last podcast, which I think the companies that do not move to these cloud open systems, right, with cloud, NetSuite, Shopify, BigCommerce, you have access to open APIs, innovation. A lot of B2B companies are on legacy, on-prem, hard to integrate. The APIs are slow. The data is not very real time. Don't you think that those companies are going to be in really big jeopardy in the future because if they don't upgrade to, let's say, a NetSuite or there are other options, but obviously NetSuite's one of the main ones for cloud.
Well, I don't want to sound bad, but every Magento customer, it's in that spot. Like they're, I mean, definitely any legacy or on-premise, forget it, right? But
I think especially on the ERP side, because those are hard. Those are hard things to replace, right? And if you take too long,
no, forget it. Yeah.
I mean, I always like bringing this up so our listeners get some perspective on this. Here I am. I still have a career. I got a lot of years ahead of me. But, when I started in in my business life, we were using fax machines. I had a fax machine on my desk. The salespeople had fax machines on their desk. Individual orders would come. There would be a runner who would bring orders to like another department for hand entry and various things. I mean, it's ridiculous that that's what people were doing in a sense, even though it worked. Now it's like, you've just got to keep moving. You just got to keep moving. There are so many opportunities to interact better with your customers today than people could have conceived of 20, 30, 40 years ago. I mean, it's astounding. I mean, I had a pneumatic tube that we'd roll up papers in to send to legal, right? I mean, that's how weird some of this stuff was. And that was like 30 years ago, not like 100 years ago, right? I mean, it's crazy, right?
Well, I think, it's really interesting your perspective, but also like I think the future of NetSuite and Shopify and BigCommerce, they're going to also partner. I guess I'm curious. I think you're going to get these deeper partnerships, right? NetSuite's going to realize, oh, we need to go deeper with Shopify and BigCommerce. BigCommerce is going to try and go deeper with NetSuite and whatever. Acumatica is doing it. I know they're a direct competitor to NetSuite. Where do you see that going? Because it seems like they kind of rely on each other. These two different companies, these two different sides of the platforms.
Well, when Shopify released the Shopify ERP program, they picked SAP, Dynamics, NetSuite, and Sage, whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's collaboration there, big time. Everyone needs each other. if you make it difficult to integrate the systems that most of these brands are using, you're gonna be off. Like we did a deal now with TikTok to NetSuite, and yeah, they're doing going to compete with Shopify, Amazon. They need the integration to the top ERPs. If not, so what you want to avoid in the sales call is like, oh, let me see if we can integrate. You have to say, yes, we can integrate in 2 weeks with this partner at this cost. That's it.
Yeah. We always say, look, with Sligo, we can integrate anything or whatever. We can, we can always custom integrate. But to your point, if it's custom or it's complicated, there's no template, that could be 6 weeks, that could be 8 weeks, it could be 12 weeks, right? Because we have to figure everything out. We have to build these custom flows. But if I know with NetSuite, I can buy the templates for practically nothing and get running in like days, or at least test the flow quickly,
Well, we only do integrations if NetSuite is one of the endpoints. And the reason why is because we can, we know one system. That's, so, and if you already know one system inside out, the integration becomes much easier.
Yeah.
Then what you're gonna see on the other side is systems that you built many times. So, you can build on that IP. We built more than 100, I think. So we know NetSuite and Shopify and like really, really, really well. We have processes. We have more than, 30 playbooks, like a short shipment. The short shipment should happen in NetSuite and post to Shopify the refund and remove the lines. Or in your case, it should post from Shopify to NetSuite. What about gift card? Gift cards, it's a huge B2C mess from an accounting perspective. And you need to get it right if you're operating at, 5,000 orders a day.
Gift cards is a mess. I agree. We see that issue. Especially offline gift cards and online gift cards, they don't work together. They don't have like a full unified gift card platform, loyalty.
No, exchanges are a mess. I mean, but if you
returns can be a mess too.
But if you do it many times, you can start, understanding the pattern and creating a process around it.
So we're getting. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Diego. I didn't cut you off.
No, but anyone that gets one integration of Shopify, I don't know, every 2 months, it's like difficult also to like you're like, And when I started on integration business, I said, but it's just an order. I mean, it's mapping some fields. I mean, what's the, and it's not. There's a lot of complex, a good integration, right? There's always
the error reporting, there's a lot more that goes into doing it well. I agree.
Yeah, I was just going to say that we're getting close to the end of our podcast. So I want to just see if we want to get to some sort of a wrap up. So Diego, is there something you want all of our listeners to know about your company or what you're up to next, or anything you want to tell us?
Okay, well, thank you for having me. Very interesting conversation. And no, yeah, I mean, if you want to find us, we're in the NetSuite Seligo e-commerce operations space. I mean, that's what we breathe, do, love, and explore every day. And yeah, I love talking about this B2C, B2B, payments, refund. Again, the unsexy stuff, it brings the sexy out. And
yeah,
that's it.
That's where we're gonna find us.
I have confidence that you guys would be able to help people do this quite efficiently. That they might spend, get really tough time or overpay for some of the stuff that you guys could do probably pretty efficiently. So
yeah.
And your URL is hairball.io, is that right? Or
Hairball.io, and everyone asks about the name, and the name it's because if you have a few minutes, is
sure.
In NetSuite space, if you have NetSuite DNA, it's all about running your business in one system, right? But it's inevitable that you're gonna have other clouds because NetSuite can't do everything well. So inside NetSuite, they will call it the cloud Hairball, because you have all these 20, 40 applications running. So what we want to do is make that cloud Hairball work seamlessly. And that's why the name Hairball.
Oh, that's so funny. I thought it was about like
I love it.
I
was going to say like maybe it's you have a cat you love, but that's a better explanation.
That's really funny. I was just like, oh, we must have had a cat. That was it.
the who created that cloud Hairball concept was Zach Nelson, former CEO of Netsuite, that he's one of my
Oh, wow.
top business
Oh, great. Oh, that's
mentors.
great.
That's amazing.
Well, excellent. We thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be our guests, and it's always great to have folks coming from other parts of the world. As I said, we're happy to have listeners from your part of the world, and maybe we'll get more guests from Uruguay also.
Would love it. Yeah, I mean, we're only 3 million, but great people and a beautiful country. So
That's amazing.
I'll see you at Shop Talk next week, right?
Yeah. Saturday. Tomorrow I'm flying in.
Fantastic. Fantastic. All right. Well, Isaiah, any final words? Anything else?
No, this was just it was a really great conversation, and it's just amazing to see where we've come in almost a little over 4 years, about 4 years actually, since we started the podcast. And we didn't really talk that much about Shopify 4 years ago because it wasn't
Nope.
there wasn't as much to talk about. It's just funny how that's changed so much.
It has really changed. It's funny going back and hearing early episodes and what a lot of concerns were, the folks who were working with. We've made a lot of progress and there's been a lot of change, and there'll certainly be more. So thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Diego.
See you.